Yo, so people, it's funny, right? The other day, I forget who it was, but I was having a conversation. I feel it was on one of these interviews, right? Um, which I have no clue if it's out yet or not, but about storytelling, right? And what documentaries offer to people, you know? And I think this new documentary called Duality, a Graffiti Story, is a really good example of that, right? Because I think there's so much which you could get from this, right? When you think about graffiti, it's just like, where do you start? Do you start from the very beginning, or do you follow certain people, certain places? It's a global thing. So, yeah, where do you go? Right. So, I was extremely interested to see what Ryan Dowling has done. Right. So, Dowling, he directed it. It's written by Dan Adams. Um, it is produced by Lucy Soja, executive produced by Matthew Helderman, Grady Justice, Nikki Steyer Justice, Brandon Miller, Justin Miller, and Luke Taylor. Dowling, he also handles the cinematography, and it is edited by Chase Honaker, Chris Lundberg, and Goldie Rankin. And the piece itself, it follows some real pivotal names currently, in recent times in the whole graffiti era, as it were, right? So we will get to those names. But I kind of feel there's no point, repeating them. So this is the basis of what, right? So once brushed aside, even deemed criminal, graffiti has since paved the way for many successful, credible artists today. With Duality, these street artists, some for the first time, some maintaining a strict code of anonymity, discuss their journeys from tagging to becoming respected icons in the cities they um, serve, with pieces that are awe inspiring in scope, size, and complexity. They have collectively proven that their genre of art is something that can influence culture, invoke emotion, inspire, and cultivate community. Their rise has not been without challenges and criticism, but today they are admired by throngs of fans, and oftentimes the art they produce brings in revenue from household name brands and worldwide corporations. No longer relegated to back alleys, their works can be found on main streets, on the faces of landmark buildings, and in fine art galleries. The perception of graffiti and street art has changed over the last couple of years, and with this documentary, um, Dowling wanted to shine a spotlight on not only that, but how these talented artists cultivate a deeper sense of community and help businesses thrive. The term vandal is flipped on itself in this documentary that showcases the dual nature of what being a graffiti artist is like today. They have proven that art is something that can influence and give character to an area. With Duality in partnership with Buffalo 8, um, they get to share this story. And we see, right, Jewel Streets from Houston, Sloke, a.k.a. Nate Nordstrom from Austin, There's Mears, aka Jonathen Cohen from New York, also aka 5 Points, right? Jabba or White Ninja, or what was the other one? I think it's like El Ninjaro or something like that. It sounded fly from the West Coast. Never, aka Jonas Never from Los Angeles, and also Maria Flaguel Cecil, who co-founded 5 Points with Cohen Nevers, right? So Mia, sorry. So yeah, it is a really just fascinating piece, right? Because it's looking at these different individuals and we get their interpretation of what all of this is. And I think it's funny, right? There's one bit where Jabba, because yes, some of them, we don't see their faces, right? And Jabba's talking, he's like, oh yeah, the police, who else? He said someone else. They're like, yeah, they're our enemies, they're our nemesis. You know what I mean? They're trying to stop us. And it's a bit like, well, you know what I mean? It's like you can kind of understand, right? Because although graffiti is an art form, it always has been an art form. The canvas which is utilized is always, not always to everyone's, approval. So yeah, it's like if you tag up like a train, let's say, train company ain't gonna be too pleased, right? So they want you got, but then some organizations will go, hey, you can use my wall, you know which we are definitely seeing a lot more of, right? You go, especially like when you walk around London, there's certain areas, there's these old train tunnels near London Bridge. And is it London Bridge or Waterloo? It's one of those stations, right? I think, no, it's Waterloo. Yeah, it's near Waterloo. And they've kind of turned it into this whole kind of graffiti spot. You know what I mean? So, and I think they do like graffiti classes and all of that kind of stuff down there, which is a little, but I think a spot, it's all because it does. And this is the thing that gets talked about. It adds character to a place. You know what I mean? You get a soul. There's some places, they're just kind of granite cities, just concrete everywhere. They're just cold. But then suddenly you see like someone started to do murals and things like that, and it's just like, oh shit, that's crazy, man. That looks great, right? And it starts to get its own character, its own kind of spirit, right? And that adds something to a place. So with this, we follow these different artists and they talk about their experiences and how some of them have kind of, I think all of them actually have done a lot of corporate work, right? And how back in the day, you'd have to try and do it late at night, and you're avoiding getting arrested, and the different kind of reasons, like some people are like, oh, I just like to get my name out there, right? It was just like the more my name is out there, people recognizing my name, that meant something, and that was one of the things where some people are like, people don't need to see who I am, right? Because it's not about that. It's about people looking at the pieces and being inspired or motivated and enjoying the work, which, yeah, I definitely can understand that, right? Sometimes it's not about the recognition. You're not really doing it for that. Now, there's things that come with the stuff that we do, you know, but that's not the reason like everything got started. Like with this, it's like the reason for starting wasn't, oh, let me make a lot of money. It was just like, I enjoy talking about films. I enjoy having conversations. That's the foundation of it all, and that's what they're saying. It's like it started from this thing, this acorn, where they just like, we just wanted to put art out there, you know and now it's become this a little bit of a corporate thing, like to make money, to make the big money. Yeah, you have to take those commissions from organizations like Nike and EA Sports, and like football teams, basketball teams, all of that kind of stuff. Facebook, right? That's how you make your money, you know but you then got, because like we're seeing galleries do big exhibitions around graffiti and street art and that kind of stuff. And one, it was a real interesting point that was made. Well, firstly, they were talking about the difference between street art and graffiti, right? Which you can, I mean, you could say is the same thing, but there is a difference, right? Which, an interesting they did point out, right? There is this difference in the two. Graffiti is more kind of, is it iconology? No. Shit, typography. That's one thing. It's more letters, right? Now you do. Some people do have that, the little logos, like, and we see different logos and things that like light bulb and the Jabba's face and all of this kind of thing. But it's a lot of it is mainly text. But then there's also this different type, which was very interesting, right? We get this kind of understanding around like the bubble text and there's other forms. I forget what they were called, but we learn about that. But street art, it's a different thing, right? It's more stencils, and it's a bit of a different approach. But right, you have now visits moving into galleries and things like that. You have people that haven't necessarily been on the streets doing this for time, right? They might do one or two bits on the on outside, and then they're in the galleries, and they'll be like, "Oh yeah, I'm this," right? Which is, it is an interesting thing because I think we see it in everything, right? You have, it's like when you think about rap, you have people that do the open mics that go out every single night. Back in the day, there was people that I would see and was doing shit with like Def Jam and stuff. You would see certain people every friggin' night, everything friggin' night doing their thing. Man Slim, like Skinny Man, right? Always saw Skinny doing his thing. But then, rap gets more popular. So, you have like these studios then kind of cultivating someone, just like auditioning, and like when they form these boy bands and things like that, right? And so they've not done those open mics, right? But suddenly they're all over the place, and talking about, oh yes, it's been this struggle and blah blah blah, and then you've got the people that have done the struggle, that being out every night, be like, yo, what the fuck is this dude talking about, right? And so we see it in all facets of life. So it's interesting watching this and hearing these artists talk about like that aspect of it, you know? And then it's just like, yeah, we get this, because I remember going to Berlin, and I believe it's like a section of the old wall, right? That is now just devoted to graffiti, and you can go and graffiti there, and there's all these different pieces. Like some of it I enjoyed, some of it, nah, but that's like all art, you know. But it's like there's more and more places like that all over. There's a place in Brixton, that's like all devoted to graffiti and stuff like that. So you have these places, which started off as just, some spot that some artists found, did their thing, and then it becomes like mad popular and becomes a tourist attraction. And then it changes, right? It completely changes. And that was a big thing. Slopes kind of breaks down, right? How like notoriety, popularity kind of twists the game, right? And sucks the enjoyment out of it in a lot of ways. He talks about being burnt out through corporate work, and the fact that it's like now you have these spots and you'll do some work, but then people, tourists will come and other people come and just write all over it, and it's just like, yeah, kind of seems kind of crazy. So it's just really, really interesting, right? This whole thing, and we learn about, I think it's VARA, right? This legal act, which is there. Not many people know about it. I certainly did not. Which is there to kind of help protect artwork. And we learn about this whole crazy situation, that happened at 5 Points, which, yeah, a little insane. But, what then came out of it, this stairway museum, which we see, it is pretty incredible. So I think if you like art, if you like graffiti, street art, I think you will definitely want to check out Duality, people. You really do, because all of these people that we see, right? Each one, like Jabba, right? Mears, Jewel, Nevers, their work is so different. Like Nevers does these murals that, right, some of these murals look like frigging photographs. It's insane. It really is insane. And he, like, the interesting thing about like Nevers was the fact that there's everyone's talking about the tagging and this and the repetition, right? Getting that thing out there so people will see it, and then they start to, oh, that's Slopes. Oh, okay, that's Jabba, right? They get to know that kind of thing. But he was just like, oh, I didn't really want to do a thing over and over again, right? So he then explains his approach, right? So these different artists all have different approaches, but it's all coming from the same place, right? This joy of creating. And it is so fascinating looking at these different styles. I saw Slokes do this thing with a can, which I didn't even know, right? I was blown away by like what he does, because it's just like I've never seen that, right? We have him interacting with this kid who has like a book which he carries around. So when he sees like artists he likes, he gets them to do a little thing in his book, and like Smokes kind of like shows him how to do some stuff, and it's just like really fascinating. It really is fascinating, right? And it's incredible that Dowling was given just this sort of access, that these people were down to talk to him, you know? That you think there could potentially be repercussions, maybe, But yeah, this insight is great. So yeah, if you enjoy art, if you enjoy graffiti, if you enjoy street art, all that thing, you will not want to miss Duality, a graffiti story, because boy, it's just yeah, mad interesting, people, and it is available. Right, you can pre-order it, or you can jump on any of your favorite VODs and you'll be able to grab it there. You know what I mean? So yeah, definitely, people, go check that out. And yet again, AJ comes with the goodness, right?